This meeting, every year, we do a program planning meeting. It's a way for us to hear from members about what's important to them, issues that are important in Sonoma County, but also we report to the National League on what's important to us. And at their convention, which is happening at the end of May, all of the leagues get together and as a group, we decide what the focus should be. We always focus on making democracy work, so that's a given. We don't even have to vote on that. And we're going to be discussing that later on in this program. It also helps the board to set our goals for the year, so we know what members care about and what they would like us to move forward on. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. And we also want to be prepared on any issues that we think are going to really affect Sonoma County. We often, in years past, members got together and did studies. And so if there was an issue on, say, housing, I think Debbie McKay started a white paper on housing, and we thought that might be a study that would happen. And in years past, we've done a lot of studies on issues that are important in our county. But that takes a lot of time and effort, which has been not as easy to do these days. And so we often look to the National League for areas of emphasis that they focus on, or other California leagues. The Bay Area League does a lot of work and research on issues. And so we piggyback on some of those issues to move forward. And it also takes volunteers and champions to move these issues forward. And we really appreciate the efforts of volunteers to do that. We also, if someone else in the county is already doing the work, like there's a lot of people doing environmental work, homelessness, and other issues like that, we either like to partner with them or maybe write letters of support, or we can monitor governmental agencies and see what bills might be coming up, and so that people can follow those. So we call that the Observer Corps, and we'd like to get that more volunteers involved in doing something like that, which you can pretty much do from your own home now because of Zoom. Most of the meetings are still on Zoom. Let's see. So what happens now, because the National Convention is going to be at the end of May, other leagues start contacting us to support some of the issues that they want to move forward. So National sets policies, but it's after much discussion of all the leagues all around the United States. And then they get together at the convention and decide how things should move forward. And one of those that I think is a good example is under Making Democracy Work. It used to be that the direct election of the presidency, or abolishing the Electoral College, was just a small piece in Making Democracy Work. And 2 years ago, I think it was, the convention decided to pull that out and have it be a standalone issue. So although nothing really has moved on this very much, I was pretty excited about seeing that maybe abolishing the Electoral College, the league would take that on and moving directly to direct representation of presidents. So we do have some wonderful champions already in our league. We have great environmentalists: Ruth Furch, Jan Randall, Debbie Epstein. I'm probably forgetting others. Nancy Richards, who are involved in a lot of that work. Rick Lutman is all things transportation, and Jody Nunez is trying to start up a justice areas of emphasis. So there's lots of ways that you can be involved in that. And we would love for you to join one of those committees. Doesn't mean you have to do anything. You can just kind of listen in and get up to date and learn more about what some of those areas of emphasis have been in the past. And Jim Masters is our advocacy chair, and he's been instrumental in moving all of this forward. He does a great job herding cats, I like to say. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim to talk about what we've been doing in terms of advocacy.
Leona, should you give us the structure for the day before I do a report? You're muted. You're muted, Leona.
Well, I can do that. Jim's going to talk about advocacy. Leona is going to share about the surveys that were done. And we're going to vote on our areas of emphasis and decide what we want to work on in the next year or two. We're going to talk about making democracy work as a main focus of what leagues are doing. Lynn Dooley is going to talk about the work we're doing with youth. Lynn is also going to talk about the pros and cons feature that she just completed and volunteers just completed. And Karen is going to talk about legislative interviews. We'll have time for announcements and then a brief closing. Okay. All right,
Okay,
Tim.
I'm ready to go. So
Go.
as chair of the advocacy committee, basically I manage a process. I'm by no means a subject matter expert on the things that members of this league bring to the advocacy committee. I mean, every day I discover more and more things about which I know almost nothing. It's kind of surprising. But the advocacy committee members bring issues to the committee. We discuss them. Donna mentioned the league policy of speaking with one voice. If we're going to take action on something locally, we've got to be sure that it's consistent with positions or principles from the state league or for the national league. This requires some research on our part, looking to make sure we don't contradict each other. An example is the state league took a position against Prop 1 in this upcoming March 5 election. Many of us as individuals wish the state league had done something different, but what that means is we cannot take a position in favor of Prop 1 because the state league has taken a position against. If we want to take a position in favor, we got to convince the state league either to let us do something contradictory to their position, or we got to convince them to change their position. So this speaking in one voice is a fairly time-consuming internal process that the league has, but what it results is the league being able to take powerful positions that are consistent with league principles up and down the line. So I'm going to talk about just a few of the things that the advocacy committee has been involved in. Again, the areas of emphasis are areas of emphasis for the league as a whole, not just what the advocacy committee does. As you'll see, we've had a couple of things that are in the areas of emphasis that we do not have a volunteer who wants to work on those. So the advocacy committee is just not involved in those areas of emphasis. But some of the things that we've done in the past year is taken action with regard to the Sonoma Development Center, recommending a method of going forward with the redevelopment of what was known as the Sonoma Development Center. We have taken action on fire-safe roads, which it appeared to us that the county was not implementing the state or not meeting the state standards on fire-safe roads. So we filed a complaint with the civil grand jury. Now, the civil grand jury operates in total secrecy. We don't even know if they are going to look into our complaint, or if they do, what or when they're going to do with it. But we found sufficient divergence between practices in the county at Permit Sonoma and other agencies and what the state regulations call for. And our efforts to correct it locally have so far not produced any action. So we took a separate action trying to encourage the civil grand jury to take another look at that. Again, we have no idea what they're going to do with it, if anything. We have a very active climate change subcommittee who've taken actions on a number of things. The aquifers in Sonoma County. We had a close to home article in the Press Democrat that Donna Roper sent about regulating water wells and measuring the amount of water that's being taken by wells out of the aquifer. We took action with regard to measuring water use on cannabis farms. We have a range of opinions about the cannabis ordinance that the voters approved. The voters approved by 66%. The voters said you can grow cannabis, but where you can grow it and how to regulate it is still a bone of contention among many groups in the Board of Supervisors. But we were particularly focused on water use by cannabis farms. There are two tree ordinances. One is an update of an 86 ordinance with regard to removal of trees, and the other is a new ordinance. These are both coming up for review by the Board of Supervisors on March 5th. Permit Sonoma has done a substantial amount of research based on the recommendations of advocacy groups and their own work about what these tree ordinances should include. The Board of Supervisors is going to take another look at those on March 5th with an idea that by May they will approve or disapprove the contents of those ordinances. The Eel River, something that I was not aware of at all, but that Susan Gorin, our former league president, encouraged us to review. The Pacific Gas and Electric is proposing to remove 2 dams on the Eel River up in Mendocino County, one of which diverts a substantial amount of water into the Upper Russian River. Initially, Sonoma County Water Department, Mendocino County Water Department, a group of tribes had proposed to PG&E that the diversion continue. Those 3 entities formed, Sonoma Water, Mendocino Water, formed a new joint powers authority to manage that, and PG&E incorporated it into their draft proposal to the federal government about removing the dams. And PG&E recently has changed their mind and not included that. So there's a great deal of kerfuffle about what will the water diversion be able to continue or not. And there's a meeting coming up on the 28th where we're going to get the update on the status on that. Donna Roper mentioned Rick Leckman, who keeps us up to date on transportation issues in Sonoma County. He and Max Bridges and others are real experts on the subject, and we are following closely issues like the smart train tax renewal, what's going to happen with Highway 37, bus transportation issues. I was shocked at one of Rick's reports that Sonoma County pays the transit agency $50 million a year for what's now a couple of bus routes back and forth between Sonoma County and San Francisco. There used to be 12, now we're down to 2 for the same price or something like that. Now, on any of these issues, criminal justice, Jody Nunez is an expert on this and is leading discussions around outreach to the reentry population, the IOLERO issues with the county regarding oversight of the jail and mental health programs in the jail. Mary Frances Waltz is helping us understand those. Now, on any of these issues, you can email me or the people involved, and we'd be happy to bring you up to date on what has been done and the drafts and the materials that we've circulated. Again, we are a member-driven process, and unless somebody's willing to do the research and drafting of materials and so forth, it just doesn't happen. We have a solid group of people covering several issues, but we have other areas where we could use additional assistance, particularly around housing. We started out with people looking at several housing issues, and I don't want to say we were overwhelmed, but the complexity of these things and the number of players and the history makes it very difficult to figure out what action we could take that would be helpful to either clarify the issue or helpful to nudge toward a desirable outcome from the public's perspective. So I think with that, I'll stop and just again say we are a member-driven process. If you have an issue that you are passionate about, we would like to educate our members about it, and if appropriate and consistent with state and national positions and principles, take action on it. And the action can be any number of things. Jan Randall has testified at the Board of Supervisors. We've written letters, we've written articles for the Press Democrat. We've done internal education to help our individual members take action on something that perhaps the league is not going to take action on, but as individual members, you'd be free to do so. So Leona, what have I forgotten to say about advocacy? You as our past chair can help fill in the blanks here.
You've pretty much covered it. In fact, you've stolen some of my thunder here, but that's all right. And this might be a good time to see if there's any questions, any burning issues or questions that people would like to ask Jim or myself or anybody for that matter. Anything in the chat?
Therese has her hand up, Leona.
Therese?
Yeah, I just wanted to put this out there to the advocacy committee and Jim and Leona. How much do we interface with the state on these positions? They have the same areas of emphasis, clearly. And just wonder how much we make use of the resources available there.
A part of our process before we take action on anything is to check both the state league and the national league to see what principles they have articulated and what policy positions they have taken. We can do something that's consistent with the principles, but on which they've taken no policy position. But if they've taken a policy position, we have to figure out how what it is locally fits with that or not. So we have to be consistent with whatever the state and the national do.
And I might also add to that, the state league has various Google interest groups related to these various things. And I'm not sure we could probably do more with that, but there are, but that is a very good resource for our various subcommittee interests.
That's what I think I was getting at. How do we interact with them, not just stay in one voice with them, but are we making use of the resources they make available, both their work on legislative items and the Google groups, interest groups, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, so far we have taken no action on state legislative items through the advocacy committee, but we have contacts in the various topic areas, criminal justice, climate change, and we bounce our drafts off of them to get their opinion. Because the state has full-time staff people. I don't know how many, but they have several, and we bounce our drafts off of them to see what's going on.
Well, the other thing also, occasionally we'll take on an issue that crosses county lines. And that is a red line as far as the state is concerned, that we need to ask their permission and before we can move forward. Because again, the state league is behind the scenes, they're championing various bills that are working their way through the legislature, and they don't want a local league to somehow obstruct what they're doing or to.
Yeah, one example of that is the excellent work that Debbie McKay did organizing Humboldt, Mendocino, and Sonoma around the coal train issue. With regard to the Eel River, I've been in touch with the Mendocino League. So far, they have not taken any action or paid much attention, frankly, to the Eel River issue. But I think this PG&E reversal will prompt them to pay more attention to it. Juanita, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that the league's role in advocacy is somewhat twofold. And Jim touched on this, but it really, I think, plays fairly big in what we'll be talking about today, is that we are a small group with limited resources. So our areas of emphasis may need to be fairly concentrated, but we also have a big role in helping our members and citizens in general to know how to advocate and to facilitate citizen involvement. So a lot of our advocacy work can center around that part of our role, as well as, the key, whatever your pet area of interest, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but everyone has their key interest, and these may not make our area of emphasis, but they are still important, and we can help to learn how to advocate for those. So,
Rick, did you want to make a comment before we move on to the?
Yeah, thank you. I did figure out how to raise my hand. I just wanted to add one thing to what Jim listed before about cooperation with neighboring leagues. As you all know, the SMART train serves both Marin and Sonoma County. So we have to coordinate with the Marin chapter, but we do that through a joint committee of 3 people from each league. I am one of the representatives of our group, so is Donna Roper and Max Bridges from our chapter, and then there's 3 more from Marin. We do meet periodically, and we also meet periodically with Eddie Cummins, who's the general manager of SMART.
All right, well, shall we move on to the next section? Okay, I'm gonna run you through a slideshow, and much of what I've put in the slideshow has already been said, so this will go fairly quickly. So I'm gonna do screen share, and can never find I thought I had it up here. Oh, here it is. Okay, we'll do play from start. Okay, so this is our program planning meeting, which has already been stated clearly. And we're going to talk about what an area of emphasis is. And I think Jim has really said that it is based on, oops, what am I doing here? Based on a position, either at the state, local, or national level. And it does reflect local priorities. And this is real important. And it's a basis for action for our advocacy committee. And I also want to point out that positions which are available through our website. You can, what we stand for, the drop-down menu of what we stand for, lists all of our positions, various studies that we have done in the past. And also it gives you a link to our state website. And the positions there are listed in 3 different major categories: government, social policy, and natural resources. And in each of those categories, there's a lot of different positions. As Jim also mentioned, advocacy can take many forms. It can be following legislation, following governmental agencies or commissions. It can mean collaborating with other agencies, nonpartisan agencies that are following the same issues, letter to the editor, testimony, and so forth. So there's lots of actions that we can take. Making democracy work, as Donna has pointed out, that is our core mission. We are all about registering voters and voter education. And listed below here are the various actions that we'll be taking. And as you know, this is an election year, and we'll be doing a lot of this. We've already had candidate forums. Sorry for this glitchy thing. For our primary election. And we'll be doing pro and con presentations, as well as a lot of get out the vote activities and timely public forums. And we'll need a lot of help under the general election. So if you've been thinking about doing some volunteer work, these are important, especially candidate forums and pro and con presentations. We'll need a lot of help with those. So think about joining those activities when they become available. So about the survey, we did send out a survey, and we sent it to 134 members, and 107 of you did open up the survey, and 35 responded. So we'll take a little time here to talk about what exactly was in that survey. So these were the 5 areas that we listed, and as you've already learned today, that 3 of them are current areas of emphasis. And housing was our emphasis, but we didn't really have a champion, and there was so much going on in the community at large that we really haven't focused on that. The survey asked members to list what they thought was important among these 5, what wasn't important, and what is important but not of interest to the league at this point. And it turns out all the respondents thought all of these were important, but only those 3, climate change, criminal justice, and transportation, was felt to be important for the league to follow. We also asked specifically under each category, what kinds of topics did they think we should follow? And under climate change was climate change adaptation and water issues. And again, this at the state league, they have asked, our state league has asked local leagues to consider water issues as important, and we did take that up. And that continues to be an issue for us. Under criminal justice, the topics that were noted to be of interest to our members was mental health in the jail. School safety became a concern for our members. I think that's reemergence of gang activity and the whole issue around resource officers in the schools has caught our members' attention. Police accountability, IOLERO has always been a focus of ours, and that continues to be. And inmates transitioning out of prison. That's a bumpy road for many parolees, and it was felt that our members that we should focus on that. What can we do as a league to make that transition a little easier? And transportation, as has been pointed out, Rick is our champion on this, and he has done a lot to keep us informed. And the two areas that he has reflected on that is of interest to our members is how to get around on public transportation. It's hard to get people out of their cars. And part of that is it's not always easy to find what's going to work for us in a timely fashion. And the smart train, what we need, there's going to be a ballot measure at some point to renew the tax on that. And what is the, and so what is our members are interested in that. The two areas of emphasis that was part of the survey that did not make the list was housing and healthcare. I kind of threw in healthcare. That happens to be a personal interest of mine, but it also is of interest for our Bay Area League. There are some current webinars that are coming up about healthcare, particularly Medicare. So that was an area of interest, but didn't make the grade. Although members felt it was important. So what is your vote? Let us take us back to, first of all, I'm going to take this back to, to this stage. But before we begin to take a vote, any questions or comments about these areas of emphasis or anything that you felt we should have considered as an area of emphasis that wasn't on this list?
Can I vote more than once, Leona?
Yes, you can. We're going to each vote on all of these.
There's nothing in the chat, Leona.
Okay. So let's go ahead and vote. And we'll have, Donna, will you take the count? Because this is a legal part of our.
I can't see everyone, so if someone else could take the count.
Okay, so someone else. Who would like to take the count? Jim, why don't you take the count?
Leona, can you reiterate
Juanita's got her hand up.
how we vote?
Okay, maybe we should get rid of this screen share. I think we can't see each other, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably useful.
Okay.
I raised my hand because did I just lose my,
No, you're
I
up.
can hear you.
well, I can't see anything now. So, there we are. Before we vote, I just like to clarify, all of these are important. We're going to have to narrow it down. So how are we narrowing this down and to how many? Because coming up this fall, we're not going to have much time to do anything but defend democracy. So how are we narrowing it down and to how many? I think we need to really talk about that before we vote.
Well, don't forget 3 of these areas of emphasis we are currently working on.
Doesn't matter. What we're doing
Okay.
next year is what we're doing next year. And this
All right.
is for next year, not right now.
It'll start July 1 and go through next 30. The elections, we'd have more time to to work on some of these areas of emphasis.
Okay. Debbie, did you want to make a comment?
Yes, I don't see the need to vote on all 5 of them because 35 of our members already indicated their preference, and that's more people that are here today. So I wouldn't want to countermand what people said in the survey. So I think we should limit it to the 3 that came out as areas of priority from the survey, and not get into housing or healthcare.
That makes sense to me. Did anybody have any other feelings about that or comments?
Only that if one of our members wants to like really take on healthcare or wants to really take on housing, and they want to be the champion for that, we'd certainly welcome that enthusiasm.
Yeah, definitely.
And part of that could be just education of our members. We've done a really good job of the ILARO presentation that we all learned a lot more about that. So partly these areas of emphasis, not to like write bills or do anything like that, but to just monitor what's going on and report to the members.
We also we have our Monday league meetings, which is basically an educational format that can talk about things outside of these 3 areas of emphasis.
Yeah, but our Monday meetings should also really concentrate on our areas of emphasis.
They do for the most part. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So Paula has her hand up.
Yeah, I believe that I took the survey and sent it in, so I'm curious, people who are here today, how does that compare in terms of what's important and what we decide on relative to the answers and what came out as top priorities of the people who did this online and what we counted?
Yeah, so Debbie's point that probably out of the 35 people, most of them are here today, but maybe that's what we should, right?
And Debbie is also suggesting that we not consider healthcare or housing, because those were not felt to be important by the people who completed the survey. I don't know who had their hand up
Thanks.
first, Therese or Rick. Therese, how about you?
Yeah, could you go over what the survey counts were for each of those 5 areas?
Oh boy, I didn't.
I was just wondering how close together those are.
You know, I don't have that ready at hand. They were close. I think most of them got the ones that I'm taking this off the top of my head, but there were like 14 votes each for the most top winners, and then it kind of went rapidly down from there. I'm sorry, I don't have that information close in hand. Rick?
I just wanted to point out that the climate change and transportation are very, very closely related, largely because transportation contributes a lot to the degradation of the climate. I see them as not 2 separate piles, but closely connected. Transportation being essentially a subtopic under climate change.
It's a good point. Debbie?
Yeah, I want to mention that one of the things that we talked about today is whether other groups are already working on the issues that we're considering. And you made the comment that the Bay Area League is working on healthcare. So we've got another league that's already working on the healthcare issues. And I think there's a number of other groups, CARA and other groups, that are working on the healthcare issue. And the same thing is true of housing now. I mean, we put out that report, but many of the things we recommended in the report have taken place. And there's several different organizations in the community working very diligently on both housing and homelessness. So I think, you know, we're passionate people. We care about a lot of different issues, but where can we be the most effective, and where can we be a real resource to the community? And I think part of how the community views us is a resource about elections and democracy and things like that. We've got to, you know, we always say, oh, this is the most crucial election of our lives. Every year, it seems like, but this is definitely an election we want to pay attention to. Let's put it that way. So I think we need to concentrate our efforts on this election. Maybe once we get past the election, we can take up possibly new issues, but I would really caution against adding to our list of things to do because we don't have enough volunteers. We don't have enough members to do more than we're doing right now. It's very difficult to do the things that we do right now. And it's only because of people's dedication that we are able to get done what we're doing right now. So I'd really caution against adding to the list. I think we need to narrow our focus rather than broadening it.
There's something in the chat that I would like to sort of comment on. Donna mentioned the national emphasis on eliminating the electoral college. How will we be involved in that? And I don't really have a good answer on that. Donna, do you want to comment on that?
We're going to talk about making democracy work in the next section, and that's going to
Okay,
be.
all right. We'll leave it for that. Okay.
Robin has her hand up, Leona.
Oh, Robin, yes, sorry.
Sorry, that was my question up there that I had sent earlier. So I wanted to make sure that got addressed. And I also appreciate hearing about the sort of the watch groups or study observation groups. This is all very, very good to hear that our members are active, sometimes behind the scenes, sometimes remotely, but it's great to know that all of you are doing your part. Thank you.
Juanita?
Yeah, I just pulled up a report on the responses that somebody was asking.
Oh, good, thank you.
Do you want me to share screen quickly on that?
Sure.
See if I can share screen quickly. There we go. If you look at it, the responses are pretty close, with criminal justice being a little lower than the others, but they're pretty close in terms of who's interested in what. So I don't know if that guides us in anything. I truly believe we have to pick two and not do too much next year, but whatever we do, they are very close in terms of what everyone said.
Yeah, as I said, all respondents said all the issues were important.
Yeah.
But only those three felt
Yeah.
to be of league priority at this point.
Yeah.
Okay,
Any
so
other?
I'm going to take Debbie McKay's suggestion that we accept those three that we've been working on and just continue to work on those. And I think I'll take a moment for that.
Sue has her hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, Sue has her hand up. Sue, you're muted.
That's a mistake. I'm not sure whose hand that is, but I don't think it was mine, but I will lower it.
So Debbie, do you want to make that a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we continue to focus on the 3 areas of emphasis that we're currently focusing on.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Could you state the 3 areas for the motion, please?
Climate change, transportation, criminal justice.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. And is anyone opposed? Okay, I can't see all the hands, but I'm assuming we're
Everybody
moving.
raised their hand.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. That was great. Thank you, Leona, for putting out the survey and doing all that work.
And
Okay.
who seconded that motion?
Lynn.
Lynn
Thank you.
Dooley. So Leona, do you want me to move forward?
Yes, why don't we go ahead? That is.
Jody has her hand up.
Jody?
I was just voting.
Oh, okay. Thank you for voting.
Yes, that takes care of our program planning part as far as emphasis, areas of emphasis. And now we need to move on to the second half of our program planning meeting.
As Leona said earlier, it is the crux of what we do in the league. That's why the league was founded, was to make democracy work. And it's advancing all of those core democracy issues that we're all very concerned about, especially in this voting year. We are lucky to live in Sonoma County and in California because it's not as big of an issue here. But many of the leagues that we're in contact with do struggle with some of the issues of voting rights for all. So basically what the Making Democracy Work, it involves voting rights, improving elections, redistricting, and then this new one that I said was added a couple of years ago, popular vote of the president. So those 4 things is what the national office has put out, and then we decide kind of how we want to tie into that. The national and or the California League often sends us action alerts. So if they're pushing a bill or making something move through the legislature, then they'll send out an action alert and encouraging us to contact our representatives to vote in a certain way. So you can sign up for those action alerts, and so you'll know what's happening nationally and in California. We also, our county chose to be part of the Voters' Choice Act, which is really big because it was all new to, I think, 15 counties started it 4 years ago. And Diva Marie Proto decided that she was willing to take that on. And that's what you're seeing now is everybody gets a mail-in ballot, many ways to vote. You can go to ballot boxes more than once. I think they're going to be open 10 days. You can drop off your ballot in many, many places. You can still do in-person voting. So it's really encouraging everyone to vote. There's really no excuse not to vote. And usually we're a great percentage of people who actually do vote. It's often over 80%. We in Marin County are one of the highest areas where people do get out the vote. Although there was an article in the PD today, I think probably a lot of you read that they're very concerned that people are not going to vote in this primary and therefore will affect this election. So something we've not really had to focus too much on before about getting out the vote, but I encourage you to tell everyone you know that it is still important. There's some down ballot, a down ballot measure that we want to vote on, and we want to encourage everyone to vote. So the league is also really into educating people, and Judy Coleman came up with a really fabulous idea about civics classes this year. Hopefully you saw the first 2. She's going to talk about the last one in just a little bit, and she'll let you know how you can access the first 2 as well. And we've been doing Vote 411, which used to be called Vote Forward. Sue Jackson and her team have done a great job of getting that up and running. I believe Sue's going to talk a little bit about that as well. And then the candidate forums, which I think is what the league is really known for, is bringing the candidates together. We used to do it in person, and now we do it on Zoom. We're able to reach a lot more people. And almost everyone, when I mention that I'm involved with the league, say, oh, yes, I love to see the candidate forums. It really helps me make my decision. So that's really what the league has been focused on. Lynn's going to talk about the pros and cons, which she's been heading up as well, and the youth committee in just a little bit. We have really close relationships with Diva Marie Proto and the Registrar of Voters office. We distribute the cards to libraries and post offices and places like that throughout the county. We can use more volunteer help there because some people don't want to drive anymore, or they've just not been able to do that. But it's a fairly easy job. You only have to do it a couple of times a year and just make sure that those cards are restocked. Jim Masters has been representing us at the Accuracy Committee. That's where a group of people get together and make sure that the Registrar of Voters is doing accurate accounting of our votes. And although we have a really good relationship with her, that's something that the league should pay attention to and make sure that that office is still being transparent and doing what is supposed to happen. You've all read about the Mendocino problem of erroneous ballots going out. And so we have to kind of stay on top of them, even though we have a really good relationship now. It's something that we want to focus on. And just last week, I had a suggestion from one of our members about getting the ballot booklets to be alphabetical by candidate instead of just kind of this mishmash of how it was. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. That's certainly something that we could take on and see why it's not alphabetical from the California Secretary of State. So there's lots of things we can do around work. these are all kind of the dry things. I know we are all concerned about the results of the November election, but all of this feeds into that. And if we don't do this basic kind of work of educating people, getting them out to vote, getting them registered, of course, and making sure that our processes are transparent and done well, then, you know, all of it won't work in November. So that's making democracy work. I think Lynn is going to do.
Juanita has a question.
Okay, thank you.
Not really a question. I just wanted to point out, as people talk about their various programs and what they've been doing, that the links to most of these are on the voter information section of our website, which you can click on in the upper right-hand corner. Links to the forum, links to recordings, links to all kinds of other resources, links to Vote 411. All of those are there. Make use of that when you get ready to mark your ballot. If you haven't done it, it's a good place to start.
And I'll answer Robin's question too about abolishing the Electoral College. That did come up 2 years ago, and nothing really has been done on that. So I don't know where we are with that, but it is on record that the league believes the Electoral College should be abolished. So it's going to probably take. We have a brand new president there, so it might happen. It might not. I'm not sure. Okay.
Actually, I wanted to comment on that, Donna. The other thing that the National League is supporting is the National Public Vote Compact Act, and I put a link in the chat about that effort. And that basically says when there are enough states that have passed this compact, that it would equal the number of votes that are needed to elect a president, then this compact takes effect for all the states, and they agree that their electors that they send to the Electoral College will reflect the national popular vote. So if you want to get more information on this, it's kind of an alternative to doing away with the Electoral College. And a number of states have passed this. I think it's 17 or 18 states that have passed this resolution. So if you want to get more information on that, I'd recommend you go to the website, and it'll give you more information on that.
They
Great.
have 105 votes
you,
of
Debbie.
the 270 they need.
And Karen just posted that there is a process for getting your name on the ballot, that it's randomly pulled. So that answers that question. I won't have to do my research. Thank you, Karen.
All right,
Okay.
you know, I want to kick off the little snippets. We're going to do a little bit more in depth on each of the areas of voter service that we're working on. And I wanted to address our candidate forums. Are we ready to go there, Donna?
Sure.
Okay. So we held training for the positions that we have on the volunteer team for the candidates forums in December. And that was based largely on an updated forum manual that several of us worked on. And the training is very up to date in the manual. So I would invite anybody who's interested in that to let us know through elections at LWVSonoma.org. And Lynn, is that link generally available to all members on the website?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I'm going to put elections, say again, elections.
Elections at LWVSonoma.org.
Okay, I'm putting that in the chat.
Okay. I'm having trouble seeing all the things that go into the chat, but so everybody can help with the chat. So we did put on 2 candidates forums for the primary season. Those were virtual Zoom webinars, and they were in English and interpreted into Spanish simultaneously. Those were both for Board of Supervisors seats for District 1 and District 3. We promoted those through our social media, and we recorded those, and they're posted on our YouTube channel. There are links to those on our website as well. And we're getting pretty good viewership, not quite as much as we get in a midterm or a general election, but you know, hundreds plus of people viewing those. And you know, the pros and cons are getting a lot of traction that I think Lynn will address as well. And we have an intern working with us from SSU who is looking into some get out the vote efforts. And that probably will be geared more towards the general election, just in terms of timing. So that's pretty much what I have on candidate forums. Were there any questions on that? Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Lynn, I think you're up next.
Leona has something.
Oh, Leona.
Can't
Leona,
hear
you're muted.
Members that would consider volunteering for the candidate forums, will you be doing more trainings?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Drop that ball. Okay. Yes, we definitely will be doing more training in, probably before July sometime. July, we'll be seeing who's filed for office or for candidacy in mid-August. We'd like to get folks trained before that, and then close to September, October, be doing the forums. So we'll probably be holding training later in the summer. Thank you.
Okay, so my turn. Yay. Hi, I'm Lynn Dooley, and we are the pros and cons team. The pros and cons is something that the league is really known for, as well as candidate forums. People look to the league for the nonpartisan look at each of the propositions on the state ballot and any local election that spans the entire county or reaches a significant population base in the county. We put together teams, we research the proposition, we put together the current situation, the background, what the proposition would change. So what the proposal is, we talk about who is supporting, who's opposing, what they say, and then who's supporting this financially, the campaign financing. We talk about what a yes vote actually means and what a no vote actually means. This is the nonpartisan version of the recommendations that the state league puts out on the propositions. So if you're looking for the nonpartisan look at that, that's the pros and cons team. If you're looking for the recommendations, that's the state league. The state league does also do pros and cons, and you can see that on the state league. But for us, our local Proposition 1 and Measure H are both on YouTube at the moment, and you can see those videos and learn what these measures are all about. Currently, I'll put the link to the YouTube channel. You can also get that on the website. Currently, Measure H has 276 views, and Measure 1, Proposition 1, has 255. So we have been serving the community to a degree. This is the best, most fun, most exciting, short-term way to volunteer for election support. If you want to make a difference in 2024, you'll hear me say this again, you want to volunteer for pros and cons. We'll be looking for November teams starting, we'll be doing recruitment starting in June, and we'll be kicking this off in late August. And then we'll be running through the month of October right up until the election. So very short term, but you meet people, it's fun, it's exciting, and you learn a lot and you make a difference. So anybody have any questions? I see Juanita's hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a slight correction, and I'm sorry, but it's not, the league recommendations are not partisan. They are recommendations as opposed to giving both sides, but they are still nonpartisan. I just wanted to emphasize that because
Okay, good point. Yes.
the league values its nonpartisan role a lot.
Exactly. It's an advocacy position as
It's an
opposed to,
advocacy position as
Yes,
opposed to these are the pros and cons.
right, exactly. I apologize. You're absolutely right. Leona has her hand up as well. And you're muted again. Poor Leona. I think your computer automatically does that.
Yeah, really. I just want to point out, anyone who likes to do a little research, this is a very good way to volunteer. And the way Lynn does the pro and con is sort of an interview style, so you're just not reading off a script. It's a very interactive sort of thing. So, and there is a very short turnaround time, so it's very intense, but then it's over.
Yes,
And I don't
thank
know whether Jody wants to say anything about, she's working at the state level league, whether she wants to see, because I think she's doing something at the state level, looking for volunteers there.
Yes, I am. I didn't want to horn in on any volunteers for the local issues, but the state league does the state initiatives. So we need pros and cons volunteers for us too. So if you're doing it already for the local league, if you want to be a part of the voter engagement committee that is in charge of doing the pros and cons for the state league, I would really appreciate any volunteers. And it is a very short time period. It's a very discrete action that people can do. We not only need writers, we need people to edit it to make sure that it's nonpartisan. So anyone who has experience with that, we would be happy to have you help the state league. Thanks.
Okay, so I think we're going on to vote 411. Sue? Where are you, Sue? Oh, there you are. You're muted, Sue.
I'm clicking on my box thinking it's going to make me talk. I'm challenged here. Anyway, 411 is in the final stretch, and I essentially have summary comments for you. Overall, while some of the people who worked on 411 had difficulty making the transition from Voter's Edge, the participation was higher than ever as far as the candidates' participation went. So that was good. There was also a great deal of support from Sacramento, and it was really well received. There was a lot of extra Zoom meetings, and that was very appreciated. Nationally, California was the second highest participation in the country, but that was at 53%, which I unfortunately don't think is all that high. But it was good to be second.
So,
And
excuse me, so does that mean that 53% of the candidates gave you the information they wanted, right? You might back up a little bit.
Nationally, 53% was the average participation rate. Ours was 80%. Sonoma County was 80%, which was good. But that was also fifth in the state. So I think the state leagues did a really good job of people to participate. Tuolumne County, it was Tuolumne, they had 100% participation. And
so for people who don't know Vote 411, what you're trying to do is get information from each candidate in order for residents to go onto Vote 411 and find out about the candidates.
Thank you, Donna. I always make the assumption that everybody knows what I'm talking about.
And maybe most everybody does, but go ahead.
And so yes, we do. We contact the candidates, and the difference is this time the candidates can write their own. They submit their own information, and the people, we do not vet it. We do not edit it. If the candidate has written something that is obviously against our guidelines, we can ask them to edit it, or we can, if we need to, pull it. And that didn't happen anywhere in Sonoma County that I know. I didn't see any of it. And the other thing that was a little bit confusing about Vote 411 is the measures were considered candidates. And so in getting the information, the candidate, the measure was either a yes or a no, but there was also a for or against it, as though it were a candidate, which was a little bit different for people. The measure and candidate information will be archived on March 6th after the election. And until the results of the election and the winners or the results have been verified, and then it will be unarchived, I guess is the word. And so that candidates can then edit their profiles going toward the general election. And that was basically it. It was I want to thank Rebecca Jones, we worked together on this, and she was really helpful, of course. And she was also a past president, for those of you who are around a while and know Rebecca. As far as the 411 marketing materials, the bookmarks and the yard signs are here. I will be taking the bookmarks into the office. If someone will put in the chat how I get into the office, because I don't remember how. And I will hang on to the yards. I'm sorry.
I'll help you
I
with
will
that.
Okay, thank you, Donna. I will hang on to the yard signs. If somebody wants one, just give me a buzz. We have 5 because they were more expensive, but the rest generally go to the libraries, and I will most likely be ordering more because we covered more libraries than 5. That's it.
Okay, and you'll be looking for volunteers also in the fall, right? To
Yes,
redo the whole
yes.
process again. Yep, great.
Yep.
Thank you, Sue, for your work on that. And Rebecca.
Juanita has her hand up, Sue.
Yeah,
Juanita.
Yeah, I just want to say I did use Vote for One to mark my ballot, and it worked really well. I was
Good.
pleased that it was not that hard. The candidates thing was, or the measures thing was a little bit strange, but it was.
It was, yeah.
I think we'll get along well with it once it gets going.
Actually, I agree with you. I think it will be very good, and also some of the issues are operational. It was difficult that you can't format the responses from the candidates, and it looked like sort of a rant because you didn't have paragraphs. But we're working with that. We'll be able to do that going forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Are we moving to Karen Weeks?
Sure. So I was one of a group of people who worked on legislative interviews in January, February. So what that is every year the league at the state asks local leagues to do legislative interviews with our elected state officials. So Teresa and I coordinated with our adjacent leagues. Only Napa and Marin participated. The other leagues basically didn't have people to help with it. So we did interviews with Bill Dodd, who's Senate District 3, who is not running again for re-election. And then Assemblymember Cecilia Aguiar Curry, who's Assembly District 4, and Assemblymember Damon Conley, who's Assembly District 12. The other 2 legislators that touched Sonoma County either did not respond or responded late. So we just included these 3. The state provides us with the questions. And so we asked those specific questions. And the questions this year related to open meeting laws, mainly around the changes that were made during COVID, climate change issues related to health, and also a question on the state's housing goals and progress towards the state housing goals. So there wasn't much difference with the senator and the assembly members in their thoughts. They all praised the work that the league does, and at least for Damon Conley, he knew what our positions were on various topics. The one thing that Assemblymember Aguiar Curry indicated is that this is the first time in, I don't know, maybe forever, that the leadership at the state are all from Northern California. And that hopefully will help some of the rural communities that especially she represents. So we submitted a report to the state. I can't remember when it was due. I think it's actually due today, but it went in a while ago. And then they will compile that information from all of the other leagues in the state. And what
So
they do, I have no idea.
But we'll be able to put that on our website so people can see what their representatives' thoughts are. Is that correct?
There's an article in the Voter that talks about that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Karen and Teresa and the team for doing that. Did I miss?
Yes, I'd like to thank actually Jim and Chris participated in them also, as well as representatives from Marin and Napa County. So thank you.
And if any of our members are interested in this, you can certainly participate next year. Youth, Lynn, are you going to say anything about youth?
Yes, I would like to say something about youth. I actually have a whole thing to say about youth.
Okay.
Okay, so according to an article in yesterday's New York Times, it's generally understood that in close presidential elections, a few thousand votes in one state or another may decide the winner. But as Americans grow more polarized in their political identities, the number of swing voters diminishes. So a different kind of inconsistent voter grows more important, one who vacillates not so much between parties and candidates, but between voting and not voting. A data-driven book called The American Non-Voter proved that in presidential elections, the most significant predictor of non-voting is simply youth. For a variety of reasons, no one is more ambivalent about participating in elections than young people. And statistically, younger voters continue to have the lowest turnout in any election. And while Sonoma County registered adults 18 to 25 voted in 2020 higher than the national average, they still had the lowest turnout of all the demographics. That's why the League's youth program is so important. You knew I was getting there, right? We are engaging Sonoma County youth when it matters most with the goal of inspiring them to become voters for life. Of course, we never tell a young person who or what to vote for, but we do explain why voting is important and how it can impact their day-to-day life. Our program has focused primarily on speaking to high school seniors in their classroom about why their vote is important to them. We then go on to register any student who is interested and eligible to vote. This past school year, we have spoken to 909 students and have registered 592 of them. Such a great number. Those are great numbers. But the job doesn't stop there, and we want to encourage them to actually vote. So to that end, we offer students the option to sign up for an email or text to alert them when their ballot is in the mail. We also offer to send them some trusted, nonpartisan links to use to dispel disinformation and research their ballot. That information was emailed or texted to 160 students on February 5th. Also a great number. We plan to continue the high school in-classroom voter education and voter registration program, that's a mouthful, through the month of April this year, and then again when the school year starts in the fall. We have a wonderful, dedicated team who prepare the materials needed and visit the classrooms to make the presentations. I want to thank each and every one of you for your fabulous, fabulous work. But that's not all we are up to. We are also launching a peer-to-peer voter registration program at Sonoma State University and Sonoma Santa Rosa Junior College. So I want to share a screen here so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, but now I have to get back to my notes. So you can see that, yeah? Okay.
Mhm.
This program will teach students how to register their friends and classmates to vote at their own election activities. Hosting 2 election activities in their school year will earn them the title of League of Women Voters of Sonoma County Elections Ambassador, a title they can put on their resumes and be proud of. We're aligning the program with the Secretary of State's California Students Vote Project, thanks to Robin Bramhall, who's our liaison there. This is a pilot program, but we've gotten great interest from the student governments at both Sonoma State University and Santa Rosa Junior College. If you want to make a difference in 2024, join the Youth Outreach Committee. We need presenters and behind-the-scenes helpers for both these impactful programs. You can do as much or as little as you like, and you'll be given the tools and training to ensure you feel comfortable in your role. Help us turn potential non-voters into voters. You can inspire Sonoma County youth to become lifelong voters. I'll put the contact information in the chat for anyone who's interested. Thank you. Anybody have questions? Okay.
Just a comment, I think there was a study done also that if people start voting at an early age, they tend to be lifelong voters, right? So you're getting them on their very first election, and hopefully they'll vote for the rest of their lives. So it's fabulous.
I hope.
Yeah, and bug your grandkids too.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think Leona, you're going to do announcements.
I thought we had Judy on civics class.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Sorry, Judy. Last but not least.
Well, the civics class have been very popular, and I would include the disinformation talk that we had as the first one with Nina Jankowicz. For that, we had 450 registrations over 23 states, of which 250 actually attended. Then with David McEwen, he gave an absolutely mind-boggling everything you ever wanted to know about state government in 1 hour. If you have not downloaded the resource sheet on that, it is phenomenal. I mean, if ever in your life you want to look through, learn anything about state government, he has a link for it in that. It's about 6 or 7 pages. It's a tremendous resource. Then we had Logan Pitts, who spoke how an idea becomes a law. And let's see, for David, we had 139 registrations, of which 86 showed. For Logan, we had, I think, 113 registrations, of which we only had 46. Part of that was my fault, because even though I had checked when I upgraded meeting to webinar, I checked that it would resend the registration links. You know, in Zoom, there's a setting where it will resend it at a week, a day, and an hour before the event. It wasn't checked. So a lot of people didn't come anyway, but the last one is going to be by Steve Rabinowitz on how city and county government works. And that's going to be a really intriguing, interesting talk that'll make everybody want to know more about their local government.
And that's on the 20th, Judy?
That's on March 12th.
Oh, 12th,
Tuesday,
sorry.
March 12th. These are all free. They're on Zoom only. We already have about 95 registrations for Steve's class. They've been very popular.
Yeah, they're good.
And about half of the people are from Sonoma County. About half of the people are from throughout California. A couple log in from other states.
Right. Yeah. Really important information being shared. We appreciate that.
And we have a fabulous team that helps with the logistics of making it happen. So it's a real team effort.
Elaine has a question.
It's not a question, it's a comment. And Judy, I think why you didn't get the amount of people for David McEwen, sorry. Sebastopol and West County were without power. And so that probably had an effect. That's why I didn't watch it. That's why we didn't watch it.
I did not realize that.
Oh yeah, no, all of Sebastopol.
You're saying for David
was out.
McEwen's or for Logan's?
Yes, no, David McEwen's. All of Sebastopol was out. We were out. A lot of Guerneville was out, and along Forestville along the way. So that might be part of your,
But
if
it
you're
is
wondering
recorded.
what happened.
It's on our YouTube channel now.
Yes.
Yeah. And what's with you people out there? Are you in the boonies or something? How come your internet goes out?
Trees.
Ah,
Okay, Leona,
Trees
announcement.
falling.
We're running
Okay,
out of time,
we're
so we gotta
winding
move.
down here, so I want
Yep.
to get to announcements here. The first one is our league is co-sponsoring along with the Santa Rosa AAUW chapter a talk on book bans, which is taking place on March 9th at 1:30, and it's free at the end. It's an in-person event at the Finley Center. I'm going to do a quick screen share just to can you all see that? No, you can't
Yep.
see that. There it
There
is.
you go.
So this should be a good event. It's going to be I will be speaking as Deborah Doyle from the Sonoma County Library Commission will be there. So it should be a good talk. And I'm looking, I want to do a league tabling. So if anybody would likes to help me with tabling at that event, if you're planning on going, let me know. Moving on. Vote Forward, which is if you want to make sure that we help get other states that are swing states to get out the vote. Vote Forward is coming alive again. And we have a link to that on our website. So get your pencils sharpened, and we probably will post a couple of in-person letter writing events, at which point we'll probably supply stamps and envelopes, but that's to come a little bit later. And also want to make a correction on our next Monday League meeting, which was supposed to be scheduled for March 25th, will be instead on March 18th. That's going to be on the In Response program with Chief John Cragen and Mary Frances Walsh from NAMI. So that should be a good report. And just one other thing, I don't know how many of you know about SoCo Correspondent. That's a very interesting new service put out by the County Communications Department. And they put out a email twice a month, kind of giving a listing of all things going on in the county, and also a chat podcast where I think it's mainly Paul Gullickson will interview key leaders at the county level. So it's a very good website, a good service, and I would encourage you to sign up for that. And one last thing, there's, Donna, do you want to say something briefly about the museum event on March 12th?
Yes, Marguerite Wildenheim, who ran Pond Farm here in Guerneville, was a famous sculptress, and there's her work is going to be on display at the SRJC Art Gallery. And we're going to meet at 11 o'clock for about an hour in the gallery. And then those who want to stay, we're going to have lunch at a place close by. So it's just a social event, but it's about a woman sculptor.
Something fun.
Yes.
Any other announcements anybody would like to make before Donna makes a few closing remarks? Juanita.
Okay.
I'd just like to remind everyone, if you don't remember when all these events are, they are listed on our website. So go there and get the details.
And you all tell that Juanita is our fabulous webmaster. She always keeps reminding us to use that web page. Thank you, Juanita. You work hard on that.
Yeah, well, it's just, you know, if you can't find things, they're there mostly.
Right.
If they're not, let me know.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Yeah, so just to wrap up, you can see how important this year is going to be for us and for the league. We appreciate the efforts of all the volunteers, but we need more. We're always preaching that. So, you know, invite a friend to join the league or even to just volunteer at one of these events or programs. And I think we can get a lot more accomplished. It is important for democracy, and I know you all care about